Maria Santos wiped the sweat from her forehead as she bent over another pile of immigration documents. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the cramped basement office of the International Aid Center in downtown Los Angeles. It was nearly midnight, but she couldn't leave yet. 3 families were waiting for their asylum paperwork to be processed, and tomorrow's deadline loomed over everything like a dark cloud. At 42 years old, Maria had been working as a translator for 8 years. She spoke 5 languages fluently, had a master's degree in linguistics, and could navigate the most complex legal documents with ease. Yet somehow she remained invisible to most people around her. The lawyers upstairs saw her as just another support staff member. The aid workers treated her like a secretary who happened to know Spanish. Even her own supervisor, Janet Morrison, rarely acknowledged her contributions beyond a quick nod. Maria's small desk sat tucked away in the corner, surrounded by towers of papers in different languages. Portuguese asylum requests from Brazil, Spanish documents from El Salvador, Arabic papers from Syria, and French forms from Haiti. Each document represented a life, a story, a desperate hope for safety in America. She treated every single one with the respect and attention it deserved, even when no one was watching. The Aid Center helped immigrants and refugees navigate the complex American legal system. It was supposed to be a place of hope, but Maria often felt like she was fighting an uphill battle. The center was chronically underfunded, understaffed, and overwhelmed. Most of the full-time workers were young idealists fresh out of college who burned out after a year or two. They came and went like seasons, but Maria remained constant, steady, reliable. Tonight felt different, though. There was an electricity in the air, a tension that made her skin crawl. Earlier that day, she had overheard fragments of a phone conversation between 2 men speaking Arabic near the bus stop outside. Something about a gathering, about making a statement that would change everything. The words had stuck with her all afternoon, nagging at her consciousness like an itch she couldn't scratch. Maria had grown up in a rough neighborhood in East LA, where being aware of your surroundings meant survival. Her parents had immigrated from El Salvador during the Civil War, and they had taught her to notice things others missed. They had survived by being careful, by paying attention to details, by trusting their instincts. These skills had served her well in her translation work, helping her catch inconsistencies in documents and spot-forged papers. As she worked through the night, Maria found herself thinking about her own family's journey to America. Her father had worked 3 jobs to support them while learning English at night. Her mother had cleaned offices and houses, saving every penny for their children's education. They had sacrificed everything so Maria and her brother could have opportunities they never had. The irony wasn't lost on her that she now spent her time helping other families navigate the same system her parents had struggled through decades earlier. The building was mostly empty at this hour. The security guard, an elderly man named Frank, made his rounds every few hours, but otherwise Maria was alone with her work. She preferred it this way. During the day, the center buzzed with activity. Clients came and went, phones rang constantly, and there was always some crisis demanding immediate attention. At night, she could focus completely on the documents in front of her, giving each case the thorough attention it deserved. Maria reached for another file, this one containing documents for a Syrian family seeking asylum. The father had been a university professor in Damascus before the war destroyed everything. The mother was a doctor who now worked as a hotel cleaning lady. Their 2 children, ages 8 and 10, had never known peace. As Maria translated their statements about the horrors they had witnessed, her heart ached for them. These weren't just legal documents. They were human stories of loss, courage, and hope. She paused to stretch her back and noticed her reflection in the darkened window. A tired-looking woman stared back at her, with graying hair pulled into a practical ponytail and reading glasses perched on her nose. When had she started looking so worn down? When had the idealistic young woman who first walked into this center transformed into this exhausted middle-aged translator, working alone in a basement at midnight? The phone on her desk rarely rang after hours, so when it did at 12:47 a.m., Maria jumped. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number with a local area code. She hesitated for a moment, then answered in her professional voice. "International Aid Center, this is Maria." The voice on the other end was speaking rapidly in Arabic, panicked and desperate. Maria's Arabic wasn't as strong as her Spanish or Portuguese, but she could understand enough to realize this wasn't a routine call. The man was talking about danger, about people in trouble, about something happening at the Grand Plaza Hotel downtown. "Please slow down," Maria said in Arabic, her heart beginning to race. "Tell me what's wrong." The caller, who identified himself as Ahmed, explained that he was a hotel worker who had overheard conversations between guests in his native language. There was going to be an attack, he said, tonight, at the hotel where he worked. He had tried calling the police, but his English wasn't good enough to make them understand the urgency. They had dismissed him as a confused immigrant making a prank call. Maria felt a chill run down her spine. The Grand Plaza Hotel was one of the largest in the city, hosting a major international business conference this week. Hundreds of people were staying there. If Ahmed was right, and if something terrible was about to happen, those people needed to be warned immediately. "Are you sure about what you heard?" Maria asked, switching to Arabic to help Ahmed communicate more clearly. Yes, Ahmed replied, his voice shaking. "I clean the rooms. I hear them talking. They have weapons. They plan to attack at 2 a.m. when security is lightest. Please, you must help. No one will listen to me." Maria looked at the clock on her computer screen. It was already 12:52 a.m. If Ahmed was telling the truth, they had just over an hour before disaster struck. Her mind raced as she tried to figure out what to do. She was just a translator, not a police officer or emergency responder, but she was also the only person who could understand what Ahmed was telling her, and possibly the only person who could prevent a tragedy. Maria's hands trembled as she wrote down everything Ahmed told her. The details were chilling. 5 men, all staying on different floors of the Grand Plaza Hotel. They had been meeting in secret, using coded language that Ahmed recognized from his homeland in Iraq, where he had witnessed similar planning before fleeing to America. The men had automatic weapons hidden in their luggage, along with explosives disguised as electronic equipment. They spoke about the conference. Ahmed continued, his voice barely a whisper. "The oil executives meeting tomorrow morning. They want to make statement about American companies in Middle East, but first they kill everyone in hotel to send message." Maria felt sick to her stomach. The International Energy Summit was scheduled to begin at the Grand Plaza the next morning, with representatives from major oil companies around the world. The hotel was completely booked with executives, their families, and support staff. Over 200 people were sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger brewing just floors away. "Ahmed, where are you calling from?" Maria asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "I am hiding in supply closet on 3rd floor. I finish my shift, but I stay because I know something bad will happen. I try to call police 3 times, but they say my English too hard to understand. They think I am drunk person making joke call." Maria understood the frustration in Ahmed's voice. She had seen it countless times at the aid center. People with vital information, important stories, desperate needs, dismissed simply because they couldn't communicate in perfect English. The language barrier wasn't just inconvenient, it could be deadly. "Stay where you are," Maria instructed. "Don't let anyone see you. I'm going to call the police right now and translate everything you told me." But when Maria called the emergency dispatcher, she hit the same wall Ahmed had encountered. The operator listened politely to her explanation, but Maria could hear the skepticism in her voice. "Ma'am, we've already received several calls tonight from someone at that hotel, but we couldn't understand what they were trying to report. Are you sure this isn't the same person trying again?" "No, you don't understand," Maria said, her frustration mounting. "I'm a professional translator. I work with the International Aid Center. The caller is reporting a credible terrorist threat. There are armed men in the hotel planning to attack at 2 a.m. "I see. And you said you're calling from the aid center? Can you provide some verification of your credentials?" Maria looked around the empty basement office. There was no supervisor to vouch for her, no official letterhead she could fax over. She was just a translator working late, trying to prevent a massacre based on the word of a hotel cleaning man who barely spoke English. "Look, I know this sounds crazy, but you need to take this seriously. Send someone to check it out. What's the worst that could happen? You investigate and find nothing versus ignoring this and people die. Ma'am, I understand your concern, but we receive dozens of calls like this every week. Without proper verification or credible evidence, we can't mobilize our tactical teams based solely on anonymous tips." The line went dead. Maria stared at the phone in disbelief. How could they just dismiss this? She called back asking to speak to a supervisor. but got transferred through 3 different departments before ending up with another skeptical dispatcher who gave her the same bureaucratic response. Time was running out. It was already 1:15 a.m. and Maria could feel panic rising in her chest. She called Ahmed back to check on him. "Did police come?" he asked hopefully. "Not yet," Maria admitted. "They don't believe me." "Ahmed, I need more specific information. What room numbers? What do these men look like? Anything that might help convince the authorities." Ahmed provided more details. The men were staying in rooms 504, 612, 718, 823, and 901. They had been moving between floors using the stairwells to avoid security cameras. One of them had a distinctive scar across his left cheek. Another walked with a slight limp. They had been speaking a mix of Arabic and Farsi, discussing their plan to strike during the quietest hour when most guests would be asleep and security would be minimal. "They have inside help," Ahmed added. "Someone who works night security. They know exactly when guards change shifts when cameras turn to different angles. This is not random attack. They plan for a long time." Maria felt a chill of realization. If there was inside help, that explained how the weapons got into the hotel undetected. It also meant that calling hotel security might actually alert the attackers that their plan had been discovered. She tried calling the FBI's tip line, hoping a federal agency might take the threat more seriously. After being transferred multiple times, she finally reached Agent Patricia Williams, who at least listened to the entire story before responding. "Ms. Santos, I appreciate you taking the time to call this in. However, we need to verify the credibility of both you and your source before we can act on this information. Can you bring your source in for questioning?" "There's no time for that," Maria said urgently. "The attack is supposed to happen in 45 minutes. Ahmed is hiding in the hotel right now. If he leaves, he might not be able to get back in, and we'll lose our only eyes on the situation. I understand your concern, but we have protocols for these situations. Without proper verification, we can't authorize a response that could potentially endanger innocent hotel guests or waste significant resources." Maria hung up the phone, feeling completely helpless. Every official she contacted wanted proof, verification, credentials, paperwork. They wanted everything except to actually prevent the attack. The bureaucracy that was supposed to protect people was instead getting in the way of saving them. She called Ahmed again. His voice was more frightened now. "Maria, I see 2 of them in hallway. They carry bags moving toward elevator. I think they start soon. How many guests do you think are in the hotel tonight?" "Hotel is completely full because of big meeting tomorrow. Maybe 200, 250 people. Many families with children, too." Maria closed her eyes, thinking of all those innocent people sleeping peacefully, while armed killers moved through the floors above them. She thought about the families she helped at the aid center, the parents who had fled violence in their home countries only to potentially face it again in the place they thought was safe. Something inside her snapped. She couldn't just sit here making phone calls while people were about to die. If the authorities wouldn't listen to her, she would have to find another way. Maria grabbed her car keys and headed for the door. "Ahmed, I'm coming to the hotel," she said into her phone. "Keep watching them, but stay hidden. I'm going to find someone there who will listen." As Maria ran through the empty parking garage toward her car, she realized her life was about to change forever. She was no longer just a translator working quietly in the background. Tonight, she was the only person standing between hundreds of innocent people and a brutal attack. The responsibility was terrifying, but she couldn't turn away from it. Maria's old Honda Civic sputtered to life as she raced through the empty streets of downtown Los Angeles. The Grand Plaza Hotel was only 12 minutes away, but at 1:28 a.m. every second felt precious. She kept Ahmed on speakerphone, listening to his whispered updates as she drove. "They all meet now on 5th floor, Ahmed reported, his voice barely audible. "In conference room near elevator. I can hear them talking through door. They check weapons, make final plan. How much time do we have?" Maria asked, running a red light. "They say 2 a.m. exactly, when night security guard named Marcus goes on bathroom break. That give them 15 minutes before next guard comes." Maria's mind raced. If the police wouldn't believe her and the FBI wanted verification she didn't have time to provide, she needed to find someone at the hotel who could act immediately. But who would listen to a middle-aged translator showing up in the middle of the night with a story about terrorists? She pulled into the hotel's circular driveway at 1:34 a.m. The Grand Plaza was a magnificent 30-story building with gleaming marble columns and gold-trimmed windows. Luxury cars lined the valet area, and soft lighting created an atmosphere of elegant comfort. It looked like the last place on earth where violence could occur. The lobby was dimly lit, with just one desk clerk on duty and a security guard reading a newspaper near the elevators. Maria approached the desk clerk, a young woman who looked barely out of college. "Excuse me, I need to speak with your head of security immediately. There's an emergency." The desk clerk, whose name tag read Jessica, looked confused. "I'm sorry, but security supervisor doesn't come in until 6 a.m. Is there something I can help you with?" "Lives are in danger. There are armed men in this hotel planning to attack in 25 minutes. You need to evacuate the building and call the police right now." Jessica's expression changed from confusion to concern to skepticism in the span of 3 seconds. "Ma'am, I think maybe you should speak with our night manager. Let me call him." While Jessica made the call, Maria watched the security guard near the elevators. Was this Marcus, the one the attackers were waiting to leave his post? He looked young and inexperienced, probably earning minimum wage to sit in a fancy lobby all night. He had no idea that his bathroom break schedule might determine whether hundreds of people lived or died. The night manager, a tired-looking man in his 50s named Robert Chen, emerged from a back office. He listened to Maria's story with growing alarm, but she could see the doubt in his eyes. "Ma'am, this is a very serious accusation. Are you absolutely certain about this information? Because if we evacuate the hotel unnecessarily, it could cost us millions in canceled bookings and damage our reputation permanently. Mr. Chen, in 20 minutes your reputation will be the least of your problems. I have someone inside who is watching these men right now. He heard them planning everything." Maria put Ahmed on speakerphone so he could speak directly to the manager, but Ahmed's English, already limited, became even more broken under stress. His accent was thick, his grammar confused, and his terminology mixed Arabic and English in ways that made him almost impossible to understand. "You see," Chen said after Ahmed finished, "this person can barely communicate. How can we be sure he understood what he heard? Maybe he misunderstood something innocent as something threatening." Maria felt the familiar frustration of language barriers undermining crucial communication. "Mr. Chen, I am a professional translator with 8 years of experience. I speak Arabic fluently. I can assure you that what Ahmed heard was not a misunderstanding. These men are planning to kill everyone in this hotel." But even as she spoke, Maria could see that her words weren't enough. Chen was weighing the risk of false alarm against the risk of ignoring a real threat, and the business considerations were winning. In his mind, a translator and a hotel cleaner weren't credible enough sources to justify the massive disruption of evacuating a full hotel in the middle of the night. "Look," Chen said finally, "I'll call our security company and have them do extra rounds. We'll keep an eye on things, but I can't order an evacuation based on what we have." Maria felt desperate. Time was running out and she was getting nowhere with the official channels. She looked around the elegant lobby, thinking about all the families sleeping upstairs, trusting that they were safe. Somewhere above them, 5 armed men were preparing to shatter that trust forever. "Ahmed," she said into her phone, "I'm in the lobby now. Can you tell me exactly where these men are?" "Still in conference room on 5. But Maria, I see something new. One of them just left. He go toward stairwell with big bag." Maria's blood ran cold. "Which direction?" "Toward rooms where families stay. 8th and 9th floors." She couldn't wait any longer for official approval or proper protocols. Maria headed toward the elevator, but the security guard stepped in front of her. "Ma'am, guests only beyond this point after midnight. Hotel policy. I need to get upstairs. There are people in danger." "Do you have a room key?" Maria looked at the guard's young face and made a split-second decision. "Marcus, right?" she said, reading his name tag. "How long have you worked here?" 6 months. Why?" "In about 15 minutes, you're going to take a bathroom break. When you do, 5 armed men are going to come through that lobby and start killing people, unless we stop them first." Marcus stared at her like she had lost her mind. "Lady, I think you need to talk to someone. Maybe a doctor or something." Maria pulled out her phone and called 911 again, this time putting it on speakerphone so Marcus and Chen could hear. 911, what's your emergency?" "This is Maria Santos calling from the Grand Plaza Hotel downtown. I'm reporting an imminent terrorist attack. Armed men are in the building planning to kill guests. Ma'am, we have your location flagged for multiple calls tonight regarding this same report. Officers are aware of the situation. What does that mean? Are they coming? Units will respond as soon as they're available to investigate. The line went dead. Maria looked at Marcus and Chen, hoping they had heard enough to take action. But she could see in their faces that they still weren't convinced. Ahmed, she said into her phone, desperately searching for something more concrete she could offer as proof. I need you to take a picture of these men. Use your phone camera. Can you do that without being seen? Very dangerous, but I try. Maria waited, her heart pounding, as Ahmed attempted to get photographic evidence. Every second felt like an hour. The clock on the lobby wall showed 1:47 a.m. Okay, I take picture, Ahmed whispered, but is not clear. Too dark. Too far away. Send it to me anyway. When the blurry photo arrived on Maria's phone, she showed it to Chen and Marcus. The image was poor quality, showing shadowy figures that could have been anyone doing anything. It proved nothing. Ma'am, Chen said gently, I think you mean well, but this isn't evidence of anything dangerous. Maybe your friend misunderstood what he saw or heard. Maria felt like screaming. How could she make them understand that their bureaucratic caution was about to cost lives? She looked at Marcus, so young and earnest, and realized he was about to become the unwitting accomplice to a massacre simply by taking his scheduled bathroom break. Maria stood in the marble lobby, surrounded by skeptical faces and bureaucratic hesitation. With 13 minutes left until the attack, the weight of 200 lives pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. She had spent her entire career working quietly in the background, translating other people's words, facilitating other people's communications, but now, for the first time, she needed to make her own voice heard above all others. Marcus, she said, grabbing the young security guard by the shoulders and looking directly into his eyes. I need you to listen to me very carefully. What's your biggest fear about this job? Marcus looked confused by the question. I guess that something bad would happen on my watch and I wouldn't be able to stop it. Exactly. That's exactly what's about to happen. In 12 minutes, you're going to go to the bathroom like you do every night. And when you do, 5 armed men are going to walk through that lobby and start killing innocent families, including children. While you're in the bathroom, completely unaware, something in Maria's voice, or maybe the specific detail about his bathroom routine, made Marcus pay attention in a way he hadn't before. How do you know when I take my break? Because they've been watching you. They know your schedule better than you do. Ahmed, tell Marcus exactly what you heard them say about the security guard. Ahmed's voice came through the speakerphone, still heavily accented but clear in its urgency. They say guard named Marcus always go to bathroom at 2 a.m. exactly. Take 10 minutes. They count on this. They know everything about hotel security. Marcus's face went pale. Nobody knows my schedule that well. I mean, yeah, I usually take a break around 2, but how would strangers know that? Because someone inside the hotel is helping them, Maria said. Someone who works here, who has access to security schedules, who knows exactly when and where vulnerabilities exist. Chen, the night manager, finally started looking genuinely concerned. That's impossible. All our employees go through background checks. Ahmed, what else did you hear about inside help? They mentioned name David. Someone named David who works night security. Not current guard, but maybe supervisor or someone who makes schedules. Chen's expression changed completely. David Morrison is our overnight security coordinator. He works from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., coordinating between different guards and monitoring camera feeds. Where is he now? Maria asked. He should be in the security office on the 2nd floor. Maria felt a chill. Marcus, when was the last time you checked in with David tonight? Around midnight. He said everything looked quiet and to just maintain normal patrol routine. So he knows you're here alone, following your usual schedule with no backup coming until morning? The pieces were falling into place and even Chen could see the pattern emerging. If David Morrison was the inside contact, he would have access to everything the attackers needed. Security schedules, camera blind spots, staff routines, guest information. We need to check the security office, Chen said, finally taking action. If David is compromised, we need to know immediately. But Maria grabbed his arm. Wait. If David is helping them, walking into that security office could be walking into a trap. We need to be smarter about this. She turned back to her phone. Ahmed, are you still watching the men on the 5th floor? Yes, but now I only see 3. 2 more left with bags few minutes ago. Which direction did they go? Different ways. One toward stairs going up, one toward stairs going down. Maria's mind raced. The attackers were spreading out through the building. getting into position. In 8 minutes, they would begin their assault on sleeping families who had no idea what was coming. Marcus, I need you to break your routine tonight. Don't go to the bathroom at 2 a.m., stay right here in the lobby. But what if you're wrong about all this? What if I'm getting worked up over nothing? Then the worst thing that happens is you hold your bladder for a few extra hours, and we all feel foolish in the morning. But if I'm right, and you leave your post at 2 a.m., people are going to die. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding the math of the situation. The risk of being wrong was minimal compared to the risk of being right. Chen pulled out his radio to contact David Morrison, but Maria stopped him again. Don't use the radio. If David is compromised, you'll be alerting the attackers that we know about their plan. Then how do we check on him? We go up there quietly, just to see what he's doing. As they headed toward the elevator, Maria kept Ahmed on the line for updates. His whispered reports painted an increasingly urgent picture. The 3 men still in conference room are putting on dark clothes now. They check weapons again. They have, how you say, automatic guns. Very big ones. Maria translated for Chen and Marcus as they rode the elevator to the 2nd floor. He says they have automatic weapons, probably assault rifles. When the elevator doors opened on the 2nd floor, the hallway was dimly lit and completely quiet. The security office was at the end of the corridor behind a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." They could see light coming from under the door, but no sound. David? Chen called out softly as they approached the door. No response. Chen used his master key to open the door, revealing a small office filled with security monitors showing different areas of the hotel. David Morrison sat slumped over his desk, unconscious but breathing. He's been drugged, Chen said, checking David's pulse. Someone knocked him out. Maria looked at the security monitors and felt sick. On one screen, she could see the lobby they had just left. On another, the 5th floor conference room where 3 men in dark clothing were making final preparations. On a 3rd monitor, she could see a man with a large bag walking down a hallway lined with guest room doors. They have full access to your security system, Maria realized. They can see everything you can see. They know exactly where every guest is, where every staff member is located, which rooms have families with children. Ahmed, where are you right now? Maria asked into her phone, still hiding in supply closet on 3rd floor. But I hear footsteps in hallway. Someone coming. The monitor showing the 3rd floor corridor displayed a man walking slowly down the hallway, checking door numbers. He had a large duffel bag and appeared to be looking for something specific. He's looking for you, Maria said to Ahmed. You need to move, right now, where I go. If I leave closet, he will see me. Maria studied the monitor, looking for escape routes. Can you get to the stairwell without going past him? Maybe, but I have to cross open hallway. Wait for him to check the far end of the corridor, then move fast. They watched on the monitor as Ahmed's door cracked open slightly. The armed man was now at the opposite end of the hallway, still checking room numbers. Ahmed slipped out of the closet and ran toward the stairwell door, but just as Ahmed reached the stairs, the armed man turned around and saw him. Maria watched in horror as the man dropped his bag and reached for his weapon. Run, Ahmed, she shouted into the phone. Get to the stairwell and go up or down anywhere but that floor. The monitor showed Ahmed disappearing into the stairwell, just as the armed man reached the door behind him. They had lost visual contact, but Maria could hear Ahmed breathing heavily as he climbed the stairs. I go up to 4th floor, Ahmed whispered, but he follows me. I hear him on stairs. Maria looked at the clock on the security office wall. It was 1:56 a.m. In 4 minutes, the coordinated attack would begin, unless she could find a way to stop it. Maria stared at the security monitors as precious seconds ticked away. On one screen, Ahmed was being hunted through the stairwell by an armed man. On another, 3 attackers in the 5th floor conference room were checking their weapons one final time. A 3rd monitor showed a man with a duffel bag positioning himself near the elevator on the 9th floor. The coordinated attack was about to begin, and she was the only person who could prevent it. Chen, does this security system have a fire alarm override? Maria asked urgently. Yes, but that would evacuate the entire building. The panic could be worse than... The panic will save lives, Maria interrupted. If we can get people out of their rooms and moving toward exits... The attackers can't corner them, but the fire department will come. And if there's no actual fire, there will be actual deaths if we don't act now. Maria reached for the fire alarm panel herself, but Chen grabbed her hand. Wait, let me think about this. There's no time to think, Maria shouted, her voice echoing in the small security office. In 3 minutes, those men are going to start killing innocent families while you stand here worrying about hotel policies. Marcus, who had been watching the monitors in growing horror, suddenly spoke up. She's right, Mr. Chen. Look at those screens. Those men have military weapons. If they start shooting, people in their rooms won't have anywhere to run. On the monitor showing Ahmed's chase, they could see the armed man had cornered him on the 4th-floor landing. Ahmed was pressed against a door marked emergency exit only, with his pursuer just 1 flight below and climbing fast. Ahmed, can you get through that emergency exit? Maria asked into her phone. Door has alarm. If I open, everyone will know where I am. That might be exactly what we need. Open the door, but trust me. Open it now. Ahmed pushed through the emergency exit, and immediately a piercing alarm began blaring throughout the hotel. The sound was so loud it would wake everyone in the building. Chen looked at Maria with a mixture of admiration and terror. You just triggered a full evacuation protocol. Every guest in the hotel is going to think there's a fire. Good. Now they'll be awake and moving instead of asleep and trapped. On the monitors, they could see the immediate effect of the alarm. Guest room doors began opening as confused, sleepy people emerged into the hallways. Some were carrying children, others grabbing whatever belongings they could. The orderly silence of the luxury hotel had been replaced by controlled chaos, but the alarm also affected the attackers. On the 5th-floor monitor, the 3 men in dark clothing looked panicked. They were clearly arguing about whether to proceed with their plan or abort. One of them was gesturing angrily at the others, pointing toward the exit. They're not sure what to do, Maria observed. The alarm disrupted their timing. The man who had been chasing Ahmed appeared on the 4th-floor monitor, looking around in confusion as hotel guests streamed past him toward the stairwells. His weapon was concealed, but he looked completely out of place among the families in pajamas and robes. Ahmed, where are you now? Maria asked. I made it to roof access door, but I can see man with gun in hallway below. He trying to blend in with other people, but I know is him. Fire alarms were now blaring on every floor, and the hotel's automated evacuation announcement was playing on repeat. This is an emergency. Please exit the building immediately using the nearest stairwell. Do not use elevators. Chen was coordinating with the front desk to manage the evacuation, but Maria could see on the monitors that the situation was becoming dangerous. Hundreds of people were trying to use the stairwells simultaneously, creating bottlenecks and confusion. If the attackers decided to proceed despite the alarm, they could cause a massacre in the crowded stairwells. We need police here immediately, Maria said, grabbing Chen's radio. Not in 15 minutes when they get around to investigating. Right now. She switched the radio to the emergency frequency and began speaking in her clearest, most authoritative voice. This is Maria Santos at the Grand Plaza Hotel. We have confirmed armed suspects in the building with automatic weapons. Multiple suspects, coordinated attack planned. We have visual confirmation via security cameras. This is not a drill. People are going to die if you don't respond immediately. The response was immediate. This is Sergeant Rodriguez, LAPD. We're 2 blocks away responding to the fire alarm. Are you hotel security? I'm a translator with the International Aid Center. I have someone inside who witnessed the attackers planning this. They have automatic weapons and we're waiting for 2 a.m. to begin. The fire alarm disrupted their timing, but they're still in the building. Can you provide specific locations? Maria looked at the monitors. 3 suspects on 5th floor, conference room near elevator bank. 1 suspect on 9th floor near elevators. 1 suspect currently in 4th floor stairwell trying to blend in with evacuating guests. They're all armed with assault rifles. We're entering the building now. Stay on this frequency and keep providing updates on suspect locations. Through the security monitors, Maria could see police officers entering the lobby. Marcus was directing them toward the stairwells while Chen coordinated the evacuation. But the situation was getting more complex by the minute. Ahmed, can you still see the man who was chasing you? Yes, he in stairwell now with many people. But he looking around like he's searching for someone. I think he looking for me. Stay hidden. Police are in the building now. On the monitor showing the 5th floor, Maria watched as the 3 men made their decision. Instead of fleeing, they were splitting up, each taking a different stairwell. They had decided to proceed with some version of their attack, even though their original plan was ruined. Sergeant Rodriguez, the 3 suspects on 5 are now mobile. They're entering different stairwells armed. Repeat, Armed suspects are now in the stairwells with evacuating civilians. Copy that. We're sending tactical teams to each stairwell. But Maria could see that the police response, while fast, might not be fast enough. The stairwells were packed with confused, frightened people moving slowly downward. If the attackers decided to start shooting, they could kill dozens before police reached them. Chen, can you use the PA system to give more specific instructions to guests? Yes, what do you want me to say? Tell people in the stairwells to move against the walls if they see anyone with weapons. Tell them to lie flat on the floor and don't try to be heroes. Chen activated the hotel's public address system. Attention guests, this is the hotel manager. If you encounter anyone with weapons in the stairwells, immediately move to the sides and lie flat against the walls. Do not attempt to confront them. Police are in the building and responding. The announcement seemed to help. On the monitors, Maria could see people in the stairwells becoming more aware of their surroundings, looking for potential threats instead of just focusing on getting out. Ahmed, I need you to do something very dangerous. Can you help police identify the man who was chasing you? How I do that? Sergeant Rodriguez, I have a witness who can identify one of the suspects currently in the stairwells. Can you patch him through to your tactical team? Affirmative. Have him describe the suspect's location and appearance. Maria helped Ahmed communicate with the police tactical team, translating between his broken English and their need for precise information. Ahmed described the suspect's appearance, his approximate location in the stairwell, and the fact that he was carrying a concealed weapon. Tactical 1. We have eyes on suspect matching that description. 4th floor stairwell, east side. Moving to intercept. Through the security monitors, Maria watched as police officers in tactical gear moved carefully up the crowded stairwell. Civilians were pressed against the walls, many lying flat as instructed. The atmosphere was tense but controlled. Contact. Suspect is armed. Repeat, suspect is armed. The monitor showing the east stairwell suddenly filled with people diving for cover as tactical officers engaged the gunman. Maria couldn't see the details, but she could hear rapid gunfire echoing through the radio. Suspect down, east stairwell. 1 officer wounded, non-critical. Weapon secured, 1 down, 4 to go. But the sound of gunfire had changed everything. The controlled evacuation was now turning into a panic as people realized this wasn't just a fire drill. Sergeant Rodriguez, civilians are starting to panic. They heard the gunshots. Copy that. We're trying to contain the other suspects, but we need better intel on their current positions. Maria studied the monitors frantically, trying to track the remaining attackers. The man on the 9th floor was still near the elevators, but he seemed to be waiting for something. The 2 men from the 5th floor had disappeared into different stairwells and were no longer visible on the cameras. Ahmed, can you get to a position where you can see more of the building? Maybe the roof access you mentioned? Very dangerous, but I try. As Ahmed moved toward a better vantage point, Maria continued coordinating between the police tactical teams and what she could see on the security monitors. For the first time in her career, her translation skills were being used not to help someone navigate bureaucracy, but to help save lives in real time. Tactical 2, we have a suspect cornered in west stairwell, but he's using civilians as human shields. Maria's heart sank. The nightmare scenario was unfolding exactly as she had feared. The sound of gunfire echoing through the hotel's stairwells marked the moment Maria's quiet life as a background translator transformed into something she had never imagined. On the security monitors, she could see tactical officers moving carefully through crowds of terrified civilians, while 3 armed attackers remained at large in the building. Ahmed, can you see anything from your position? Maria asked, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Yes, I reach roof access. I can see police cars everywhere outside. But Maria, I see something else. Man with big bag on 9th floor, he not trying to escape. He's setting up something near elevator. Sergeant Rodriguez, we have a suspect on 9th floor who appears to be setting up equipment near the elevators. This could be explosives. Copy that. Bomb squad is en route, but we need that floor cleared immediately. Maria watched the monitor showing the 9th floor as the remaining suspect worked methodically with his equipment. The man seemed calm, focused, completely unaffected by the chaos in the rest of the building. Whatever he was doing, it was clearly the most dangerous part of their original plan. Chen, how many people are still on the upper floors? The evacuation is about 70% complete. But there are still families with small children who are moving slowly down from floors 10 through 15. They need to use different stairwells. That man on 9 is setting up some kind of device that could affect anyone coming down from above. Chen immediately got on the PA system. Attention guests on floors 10 and above. Use only the west and center stairwells. Do not use the east stairwell near the main elevators. Repeat, avoid the east stairwell. But Maria could see on the monitors that some families hadn't heard the announcement or were too confused to understand it. A family with 3 young children was slowly making their way down the east stairwell, just a few floors above where the suspect was working. Tactical 3. We have civilians approaching the 9th floor from above. Family with small children. They don't know about the suspect. We're trying to intercept, but we're still dealing with the hostage situation in the west stairwell. Maria felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. People were going to die because she couldn't communicate fast enough, coordinate well enough, or convince the right people quickly enough. The language barriers that had frustrated her throughout her career were now becoming life and death obstacles. Ahmed, is there any way you can warn that family directly? Maybe I can reach 9th floor through service elevator. It's very dangerous, but no, don't risk it. Let me think of something else. Maria studied the security system, looking for any other way to communicate with people in the building. Then she noticed something. The hotel's room phone system was integrated with the security office. Chen, can I use this system to call individual guest rooms? Yes, but most people have evacuated their rooms already. What about the emergency broadcast feature? Can I speak directly to people in the stairwells? The stairwells have emergency phones every 3 floors. If someone picks up, you can talk to them. Maria started calling the emergency phones systematically, starting with the one closest to the family in danger. After 4 rings, a man's voice answered. Hello? What's happening? We're trying to get our kids out of here. Sir, this is hotel security. You need to turn around immediately and go back up to the 10th floor. Then take the west stairwell instead. There's a dangerous situation on the 9th floor, but we're almost down to 9. My kids are scared and going back up will frighten them more. Sir, I understand, but there's an armed suspect on the 9th floor. If you continue down, you're walking directly into danger. There was a pause, then the sound of the man talking to his family. Okay, we're turning around. Thank you. One family's safe, but Maria could see on the monitors that the suspect on 9 had finished his setup. Whatever device he had been working on was now in place, and he was moving toward the stairwell himself. Sergeant Rodriguez, suspect on 9 is mobile and appears to have left some kind of device behind. Bomb squad is in the building. Can you guide them to the exact location? Maria became the central communication hub, coordinating between police tactical teams, bomb squad specialists, hotel management, and Ahmed, who was providing real-time intelligence from his position on the roof. Her translation skills, which had always been used to help individuals navigate complex systems, were now being used to help dozens of law enforcement officers navigate a life-and-death situation. Tactical 2 reporting. Hostage situation resolved. Suspect in west stairwell is down. No civilian casualties. Bomb squad Alpha, we've reached 9th floor. The device appears to be a sophisticated explosive with a timer. We need immediate evacuation of floors 8 through 10. Ahmed, can you see if there are still people on those floors? I checked through roof access. Yes, maybe 10-15 people still in rooms. Some old people who move very slow. Some families hiding in bathrooms. Maria coordinated a floor-by-floor evacuation of the remaining guests, while bomb squad specialists worked to defuse the device. She found herself translating not just between languages, but between the technical jargon of law enforcement and the simple, clear instructions that terrified civilians could understand and follow. Ma'am, we need more time, the bomb squad leader reported. This is a complex device and rushing could trigger it. How much time do you need? At least 20 minutes to be safe. Ahmed, are all civilians clear from floors 8 through 10? I think so, but hard to be sure. Building is very big. Maria made a decision that would have been impossible for her to imagine 12 hours earlier. Sergeant Rodriguez, I'm going up to do a final sweep of those floors. I speak multiple languages and some of the guests might not understand English instructions. Negative, civilian. Too dangerous. I'm going anyway. People are going to die if there's anyone left up there. And I'm the only person here who can communicate with guests who don't speak English. Before anyone could stop her, Maria left the security office and headed for the stairs. As she climbed toward the potentially deadly 9th floor, she thought about all the people she had helped over the years. Families fleeing violence, individuals seeking safety, parents desperate to protect their children. Tonight she wasn't just translating their words, She was helping to save their lives. On the 8th floor, she found an elderly Korean couple hiding in their bathroom, too frightened and confused to leave their room. Maria didn't speak Korean, but she used simple English gestures and a calm, reassuring tone to guide them to safety. On the 10th floor, she discovered a Spanish-speaking family who had misunderstood the evacuation instructions and thought they were supposed to stay in their room. Maria quickly explained the situation in Spanish and helped them gather their children for evacuation. When she finally made it back to the security office, the bomb squad was reporting success. Device neutralized. Building is secure. The sun was beginning to rise over Los Angeles as the last of the hotel guests were cleared from the building. 5 attackers had been captured or killed. A sophisticated terrorist plot had been prevented, and not a single innocent person had been seriously injured. As Maria sat in the security office, exhausted but relieved, Sergeant Rodriguez approached her with a mixture of respect and amazement. "Mrs. Santos, I've been a cop for 15 years and I've never seen anything like what you did tonight. Your quick thinking and communication skills saved hundreds of lives." Maria looked at the security monitors, now showing empty hallways where hours earlier she had watched armed men preparing to commit mass murder. Ahmed was finally safe, being interviewed by detectives who were treating him as the hero he was. The families she had helped evacuate were being reunited in the hotel parking lot, grateful to be alive. For 8 years, Maria had worked quietly in a basement office, helping people navigate complex systems and overcome language barriers. Tonight, she had discovered that those same skills could be used to navigate the most complex and dangerous situation of all, preventing a terrorist attack and saving innocent lives. As news crews arrived and officials prepared to brief the media about the thwarted attack, Maria Santos realized that she would never again be the overlooked translator working invisibly in the background. But more importantly, she had learned that sometimes the most crucial battles are fought not by soldiers or police officers, but by ordinary people who refuse to stay silent when lives are at stake. The Grand Plaza Hotel would reopen 3 days later, with new security protocols and a profound appreciation for the hotel cleaner and the translator, who had prevented a tragedy. Ahmed received a commendation from the mayor and help with his immigration status. Maria was offered positions with the FBI, LAPD, and several private security firms, but she chose to return to the International Aid Center, where she continued helping families navigate the American immigration system. The only difference was that now, when Maria Santos spoke, people listened. She had earned something more valuable than recognition or career advancement: the knowledge that when it mattered most, her voice had been heard, her skills had made a difference, and her courage had saved lives. The overlooked translator had become the hero who saved 200 lives in one night.